We've got some arrivals here, which is great to see. Hi, everybody who's joined. You're welcome to ask some questions. So do as we go along, be ready to ask questions at the end. And so basically, what we're going to walk through today is we're going to talk about the challenge that that has been identified by Chris. He sort of made a little video out there and sort of shared with us the challenge that's happened because of data privacy rule changes, very much driven out of the EU, but of course happening globally. And so, Chris, would you like to kind of share with everybody here a brief summary of kind of what's the problem that we're trying to solve here?
Yeah, it all sort of stemmed from Apple in iOS 14, where they made it more of an opt-in rather than opt-out for cookies and data protection and everything else. So it was making it harder to track. And basically, for a period, made Facebook ads pretty much null and void because their pixel wasn't going to sort of trigger when you were on websites and everything else as well. So Facebook had to act quickly. They had to change how the pixel worked. You now need to do things like verify your domain name with your pixel, so it ties in with that. And what that now means is that it will only ever track information on the domain name that you have verified. So now with booking systems, obviously a lot of them go off to other websites or other subdomain names or pop up in a window. It's now no longer able to track the journey through the booking process as accurate as it used to do, or at all as it used to do in the past. So that's obviously threw up a lot of issues in terms of tracking marketing. You could send lots of people to your website, lots of people to your business, but would you know if they actually booked? And that was the main issue. We now no longer know if they've booked through that process because of the way Facebook works. And it's not just going to be Facebook. Google were actually looking to change this year, but it's now going to be next year. So Google and Chrome and all these other things are going to be changing to follow suit. So that is going to become an issue in the future for a lot of OTAs, a lot of ResTech and other businesses going forward, because you just can't track domain names that you can't verify, and you can't even verify subdomain names. It has to be a proper domain name. So
right, and that one is particularly annoying for us. We do offer white label domains, but of course it is a subdomain, and so it's funny because Google search has expanded such that that still that now tracks under, like, the subdomain reputation tracks under the domain reputation. So that was a huge win for that sort of subdomain setup. But the fact that the subdomain doesn't actually work for this kind of tracking is part of why we've implemented the solution that we're going to show. Yeah, for Facebook. So the conversation today is specifically targeting the problem within the Facebook ad tracking, and I'm just going to show you guys quickly the technical side of that. So, and if you want more background on this, the video that Chris did kind of explaining this in more detail is available on the landing page. So feel free to watch that as well. But if you are ready to set up with YouLi your tracking, all you have to do is go to your account and then go to your site settings. And then you just scroll down and we have this brand new little feature. And it's really this simple. You just need a bookings redirect URL for improved ad tracking. And so you just need to put a URL in there that goes back to the website where you drove the original traffic. So this is really important. What Chris just mentioned is that Facebook is only going to be tracking on the domain that you verified for the pixel that you're using for the ad. And so generally speaking, that's going to be your website, your main website, right? So you need to create a sort of landing page, and we're calling it a bookings redirect URL, but the page that you need to create for that is going to look something like this. So it's just going to be, a thank you page, a success page, a confirmation page, call it what you will. From a technical standpoint, it just needs to be a page that sits on your domain. And so that's the technical side of it. So in order for Facebook to know that your booking on the YouLi platform has actually resulted from an ad, you need a page like this to exist. And from Facebook's perspective, it doesn't have to have anything on it, right? It can just, it can be practically just load the pixel, right? But from your user's perspective, obviously, you'll want to make sure that this says something useful to them, because this is what they will see as soon as they complete their bookings. You want to make them happy that they have made their booking, and you want to make sure that they know that they need to go check their email. So I'm going to walk you through a little bit of an example here. Let's see. So you can see the full flow. So in order to do an integration from YouLi, you're going to integrate with your website. You're going to copy your snippet. You're going to set that up on a page on your website. So here's an example of a page with a YouLi trip embedded, right? So this is our Best of Morocco demo. And let's assume that I have been driven to this page from a Facebook pixel, or sorry, from a Facebook ad. And I have my Facebook pixel tracking in place. And if all of those words that I'm throwing out, Facebook ad, Facebook pixel tracking, don't make a lot of sense, that's where TMA and Chris comes in, is to help you sort of understand all of that. But so just recognizing that you'll have done that with an agency like TMA, you'll have all of that set up, and then you'll land on, you'll have a Facebook ad that drives them to your trips pages. And this is an example of one. And then from here, when they click on this, this is where the tracking breaks. So see now that it is on YouLi.io, whereas my page that I had is on go.youli.io. So this is the thing that's the important distinction between the two domains. So even though one's a subdomain of the other, the tracking will break unless you put that link in there. So when you click through to here and you select your package as a traveler, I'm just going to put my name in here. And I am going to pay my deposit and pay now. Oops, let's pick a different method because I'm not going to pay by a Stripe. All right, let's try that again. Sorry, guys. This is the problem with demos. So when you click through to the page and you pick your room and you put your name in, and you pick the right payment method, and then you click on confirm payment. So once that booking goes through, it automatically redirects. So what you just saw happen the second time smoothly is that someone lands on your website from Facebook, and then they click on the trip that they want, and then they purchase the trip, and then they land on this booking confirmation. And so they started on your website. They went through YouLi when they clicked on this, and then they landed on this booking confirmation. So the important thing is starting on your website, going through the booking platform, and then landing back on your website for the booking confirmed. So that's as simple as it is in terms of a feature, in terms of the technology side of what we are doing for this. And then from the user experience perspective, you just want to be really sure to be clear about expectations for your customer, because you've just broken our sort of standard user experience, which is that they would normally have landed on a page that shows them their invoice and shows that they've paid and shows what upcoming installments they have and gives them other things to interact with here. So that's the typical YouLi experience. And so if you implement this, you're actually breaking that experience and landing them back on just a static, generic, non-personalized page on your website. And so you're optimizing for Facebook conversion rather than optimizing for the user's experience in terms of staying in that environment and being able to do more upgrades and interact with the content. But obviously, if the important thing is getting them booked onto the site or booked onto the trip, then this is the way to go. And you can just tell them, please check your email. And from there, you can do all of these things because that email will give them a link to take them back to this page. So hopefully that seems smooth enough, but I am also very open to any questions that you guys want to ask about how that works technically, and also happy to start the conversation about Facebook ads in general, for Chris to sort of address. So yeah, do you guys have any questions on what I showed so far?
The redirect, is it based per account or can it be based per tour?
Ooh, it is currently based per account. That is a great question. But if that is, and this is something that, YouLi definitely prides itself in terms of responding to feedback. So we saw Chris's call to ResText to implement something like this. So we put it in place. Now we want to see if you guys are adopting it and using it and valuing it. And if you do, and then you need it at the trip level, where you might actually have different confirmation pages for each trip, we can certainly implement that.
Yeah, I was going to add, if that was an option in future, that would make tracking even better, because for the customer sort of journey issue that you sort of mentioned, then you could tailor thank you pages for each one of those tours. They could have other products on there for upselling. You could even have travel guides and blogs specific to that destination or that tour on that thank you page as well, so they're getting more information, and then you'll know exactly each page it's being tracked for each specific tour. So if that was something in future, that would just take it to another level, to be honest. So
yeah, that's a great suggestion.
Yeah, but with the solution that you've got, what that now allows people to do then is, when they're running ads, they know that they've started the booking journey, and then you'll be able to know if they've ended the booking journey on the thank you page. So it'll give you two bits of data. It'll give you how many people have actually finished, but then knowing how many people started but didn't actually finish the booking process as well. So you then know how many dropped off. You won't know where in the journey they dropped off, but at least you'll know how many dropped off from the campaigns that you've run. So it gives you the sort of data for both. So.
And you can target your Facebook campaign to optimize for this event as well, right?
Yeah, no, you could basically run retargeting ads for people who landed on the thank you page. So that could be ads to maybe do another tour in the area that they maybe be in, or the destination. It gives you so many options, or to ask, give them a code for something else, or some sort of offer, or whatever that may be. You'll be able to do all that by targeting people who just landed on that thank you page. So it actually opens up even more options as well for the funnel, for the marketing funnel.
Any other questions just on the technical side of what I showed you? Oh, excellent. Well, I'm glad that my little glitch didn't confuse too much. But of course, you can also find in our help documentation, which we'll email out to everybody after this, a full article on how to set this up when you're ready to do that. But the thing I do want to say is, so YouLi is here to make sure that your customers get booked onto your trips. We do the inventory management, and then we do the post-booking processing to help you collect the data that you need from your travelers. But what we don't do is advise you on Facebook ads. So we are here to provide the data where you need it to be. But if you have any kind of questions around Facebook ads, I think now is a great time to kind of pick Chris's brain if you have any questions on that. I'm gonna just toss a question to Chris first off while you guys are thinking about it. So is there any sort of just Facebook 101 for ads? So for those people who have just not started, is there something you would give them as the little takeaway?
That's a good question. I would say probably a couple of small things is just knowing who your target audience is, obviously, because that will make your ads more effective if you're targeting the right demographics for your ads. And also thinking, is it going to be targeting people who are in your destination or before they arrive in your destination, depending on the type of product you're doing. Normally day tours is normally in destination. If you're doing multi-day, that would be usually outside a destination to try and attract people that way. So it depends on what you're doing on that side is what I would suggest. And just experiment, but what to do, and I've seen it happen quite a lot, is people will try and experiment with Facebook advertising. They'll run an ad for 2, 3, 4 days, and then they think this is not working, stop the ad. They think Facebook is rubbish, and then they don't do it again. Whereas actually Facebook goes through an 8 to 14 day learning period. So it has to learn your ads, learn your demographics. So you shouldn't touch your ads for that period, because every time you do a change, it resets the learning phase. So leave your ads until the learning phase is done. That will give you some data, and Facebook will tell you if your budget's not enough, or if the learning is not enough because it hasn't got enough data to learn, which usually means it's either budget or demographics are too small or something like that. So just follow the advice that Facebook gives you, but leave it running for, I would say, at least 2 weeks before you make any changes. So that's a big one that I see a lot of people doing wrong, to be honest.
Yeah, so that's one of those things that's a little bit unintuitive in terms of what you just said, that Facebook actually has to learn. So it isn't magic in the sense that it doesn't just like immediately know who in their database, who on the platform to be targeting. Like if you say, I'm looking for people who love travel and who have, liked my page, right? Something like that. But within that set, who of those people are actually going to be the ones that are going to buy from you? And that's where this pixel piece comes in. You can optimize that. And so you can say, I want to acquire the people who convert, right? So optimizing for the conversion event is the way that we talk about it. It basically means when it's learning, what it's learning is who of the people in the demographic and the audience that you defined is actually more likely to result in that event. And you can define multiple events. So you could be looking for just clicks, or you could be looking for other things. And what the feature is that we just released supports is the ability to optimize for the conversion, for the purchase event. Are there any other sort of tidbits in terms of events, or like, do you recommend thinking about lots of different kinds of events, or do you tend to just have people set up and be like, look, just start with clicks and then learn from there and then move on to like conversion tracking? Or do you usually start with conversion tracking as like your first kind of campaign?
Conversion tracking is everything. You need that to know if your campaign's a success. But no, if you're running ads, no, Facebook is very different from, say, something like Google Ads, where with Google Ads, someone's maybe already searching for a destination, or they've already got an indication of maybe what they want to do, or some sort of activity or things to do in a particular destination. Whereas in Facebook, you are basically interrupting their day. You're being rude because they've probably never heard of your business. So what you're doing is they're scrolling through their feed, looking at family and friends and funny pictures of cats or whatever it is they're looking at. Then all of a sudden your ad shows up. So you have to make sure that the information that you're providing at the start isn't necessarily selling a product. So when it comes to tours and activities, maybe not selling a product straight away. It's maybe offering something to them that interests them about your destination, or a travel guide or something like that, to lead them in to the top of that. I hate to use the word funnel because I hate that word, but the top of that funnel. And then from that, once they start interacting with your website and the pages and the blogs and things that you're doing, then you can maybe start sending them some ads about particular products and experiences and things like that. But don't go straight in with trying to sell a product, because it's not like trying to sell a pair of shoes. Basically, it's completely different. So.
Yeah, especially for the multi-day tours that our clients are promoting, it tends to be $2,000 and more, and so that's not a like, oh yeah, I'll just buy that today kind of thing.
Exactly.
So yeah, you have to do that. Yeah.
Yeah. If anything, for multi-day, I would say that the best type of ads I've seen ever run for multi-day is either getting inquiries through a Facebook form. So you can, rather than even send them to your website, you can get an inquiry through a Facebook form, as long as you ask the right questions. You don't just have it as name and email. You've got to ask a lot of questions just to make sure you get some more qualified leads. Or if you do send them to a landing page or anything like that, is make the focus about actually setting up a call and scheduling a call with someone in your team. Because the best form of marketing and the best form of sales for multi-day is still to speak to someone on the phone. Yeah, bookings is on the rise, but they'll always at some stage want to speak to someone over the phone, because if they are going to part with $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 or whatever, then they are going to want to speak to someone before they do that, or at least during the process of doing that. So.
Yeah, and so I think what's challenging for a lot of companies with Facebook ads is just that, what you were talking about, that learning period. And so, and setting up those multiple things. So you need to do the campaign for the lead acquisition, right? So just maybe don't even send them to your website, and then call them. But then at some stage, you also sort of deeper into your funnel, you want to be doing the sort of the push, right? Hey, we've only got 3 spots left on this tour kind of thing. And then that's directing them to your website, and then onto the, and then to actually track the bookings. That's what the sort of the redirect URL does for you there. But recognizing that it's a multi-layer process, right? What you were just describing, that you can't just like put out the ad that's like, buy the big thing. It needs a bit more sort of strategy there. So, and so generally when companies kind of come to work with you, do they, do you have like a minimum budget where you say, well, if you're not going to spend at least 1,000, at least 5,000, like what's the minimum ad spend to even that you need to allow Facebook to learn and be effective?
It's a good question. No, it really depends on the demographic and the company and other factors, but we have seen some great results from Facebook ads that are running for something as low as $5 a day, all the way up to $20, $30, $40 a day. So it just depends on who you're going to target. But yeah, you can get good results from, say, I would say you probably don't want to spend anything less than $10 or $15 a day on a series of ads. It's not just one ad, it could be 2 or 3 ads running off that budget, but that's probably the lowest I would maybe consider. But yeah, even at $5 a day, I have seen some pretty good success stories with that. So
there you go.
Depends on how big the audience you're
quite
targeting
encouraging
as well. So
yeah. And how long is this journey in terms of, is this, okay, I need to spend 3 months doing this, get enough leads and then I'm done? Or is it more like, I'm going to do this continuously? Like it's the kind of thing you want to have a year-long strategy rather than a campaign-oriented strategy.
Yeah, after the last 2 years of what we've all been through, though having sort of a year's campaign or strategy is pretty much non-existent now. You've got to be more reactive to what's happening in the world at any given time. So we tend to focus on 3-month strategies in terms of, okay, we're going to look at these products or this sort of part of the season over the next 3 months, reassess it, and then either keep it going or change the creative. You tend to want to change the creative every 2 or 3 months anyway, because people will just get sick of the same videos and same images and everything else as well. So you can still have the same message, but just change the creative behind that so it's a little bit more fresh in people's minds, etc. Because they will see the same ads time and time again. So yeah, just if anything, change the creative. But if you're finding the ads aren't working, then it's maybe time to think about a completely different strategy and changing that after, say, 3 months or so.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's encouraging. So maybe a 3-month investment of time and maybe $5 a day in ads. And yeah. So anybody on the call here is planning to do ads for the first time or has had some experiences and have any questions?
Or even bad experiences with Facebook ads.
Yeah.
Well, Chris, I'm going to take advantage of you being on a call with me and get a little bit granular. So I apologize if this is skipping up 2 levels. Chris and I know each other for a while now, and we've had a number of Zooms and a lot of advice he's given me has been applied into a number of my businesses now, and we've exponentially grown. So I am indebted to Chris for this, and he knows that. I'm very open about it. Question so I actually just had a call with a Facebook kind of marketing expert, funny enough, earlier today. And, I asked way too many questions. So thought process on the Facebook form, it's one thing that we've never used, but I definitely see the value in it. And I should say, I don't operate multi-day tours. We operate, day tours in Nashville and in New Orleans. Thought process on using the Facebook form as a retargeting ad for someone that may have interacted with my, and I don't like top of funnel either, but you know what I mean, for my 7 things to do in New Orleans, or whether it's a carousel ad that has like multiple different like tour types, if they've interacted with it in any way, you know, retargeting with a Facebook form, and then having, you know, those extra questions that you're asking about, for me, being the different types of tours that they might be interested in, and or on the bottom, interested in multiple tours. Any thoughts on that as a retargeting campaign?
Yeah, I think that would work really well. So, no, having a retargeting campaign with the form, what I would do is maybe have the form that they receive something for their time of filling out that form. So you mentioned there, no, I'd say a guide to New Orleans or whatever that, the top 10, whatever it would be. That could be a PDF, or it could be something else that they receive if they fill in the information and sign up for that. So at least you're getting those contact details, but you're also giving them something, basically giving them another a way of advertising to them with certain things about the area and things and stuff more about the business. And I would have things in there about stories with your guides and what they can do for them if they were in that particular destination, etc. So the way I would do it is you have that with the form, and this would be more for multi-day, but if you had that with the form for downloading, and then at the end of that form, you always get the option to have a link at the bottom, and normally people just put a link back to their website or their blog or something like that. No, I would have something in there to say, no, are you ready to speak to someone in the team now? Have that go to like a Calendly link, so someone can then book a time with someone in your team there and then if they want to speak to someone. So that's maybe another option which you can do at the end of the Facebook form as well. But yeah, as a retargeting ad, I would say if you're giving them something, or if it was a discount code, which I don't like doing, but if it's something like along those sort of lines, they're getting something in return, then definitely, yeah, do a retargeting ad with that.
All right, perfect. And I do have the New Orleans things to do guidebook. So that's
perfect then.
Yeah, perfectly. And then as far as audience size, do you have any recommendations on, you know, how small or how large it should be for that retargeting? You know, because I'm obviously kind of marketing to people in New Orleans or certain markets that I know or have like an event or a football team that are like coming into town we're targeting. Is 5,000 too low, or am I looking at 20,000 in that audience before I can start to retarget?
No, the ad is, that's the thing. A lot of people focus on larger audiences, which can be a benefit, but can also be a hindrance at times as well, because your ads will be, depending on the budget you're spending every day or every month, can then spread the budget too thin, so less people are actually seeing it. So no, for someone like yourself who runs the day tours, having the tours and the budget focused on the local area, either that being locals or people traveling to the area or traveling within the area, that isn't going to be seen by 20, 30, 40, 50,000 people, I wouldn't have thought. So it is going to be a smaller number. And the fact that it is a smaller number, and depending on the budget you put in, their ads are going to be more effective because they're going to be seen by the people who matter, who are going to be there. So yes, you will get less clicks, you will get less other things from it, but what you should hopefully get, if the ad and the creative is going well, what you should hopefully get is more interest and more signups or bookings and things like that from it, because you are being a little bit more niche. So it just depends on what you're doing. I wouldn't maybe go down that route for like a multi-day company, but for a day tour company, especially targeting local areas, a lower number isn't a bad thing. So
okay, awesome, thank you.
Yeah, because then it's a bit more targeted in that case. Yeah, I think Sam is trying to ask a question here in the chat, so hopefully we'll see that come through shortly. Chris, I think there was one other thing you had mentioned when we were, oh, here it is. How useful is the Ad Manager app and the Business Suite? Are they necessary? The
Ad Manager, it's still best to manage ads and things like that through a desktop. If you want to just check on data and see how ads are running, having the app on your phone is good just to check over things and stuff like that. But I've used it in the past to try and update campaigns and do other things, and it's an absolute pain, to be honest. So I always do it on a desktop, to be honest. But just to see information and get some quick data and things like while you're on the move, yeah, I would use it for that basically. But I wouldn't do any major campaigns through it, to be honest. It's not quite there yet. So
it's hard, you know, it's just a little phone. How, you know, it's hard to get the full visual of everything you're trying to do for this setup.
anyone who, and Brian will know this as well, anyone who works with Facebook Ad Manager and Business Manager, it seems to change its layout on a daily basis, and it's an absolute pain in the backside. So it's you feel as if you're learning a new system every week. So it's again, it's better on desktop to do that. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I think just to leave everyone with a really good tip that you mentioned about ownership of your ads and your pixels. Do you want to share a tip for people who are just getting started?
Yeah, it's actually what threw this up was today, and it seems to be something that's happening more and more often. The more operators we're onboarding, but the amount of operators out there who don't own their own Google Analytics or Search Consoles or even Facebook Business Manager accounts and things like that is actually quite staggering, to be honest. They're either owned by another agency or someone else in the business or whatever that would be. Whoever the owner is of the business should own everything. No, when we set up accounts for clients, no, we make sure that they are an admin and they own the accounts for Google Analytics and things like that and all that side of things as well. Because the last thing you want, and as with this new client that we're onboarding just now, is that agency won't give them access to anything. So they'll lose all the data for all Google Analytics and everything else going forward. So we're basically having to set up new accounts from scratch. So always make sure you own your own data, you own the channels where that data comes from, because it's just going to help you massively in the long run. So you'd be surprised at how many operators don't own it. So
yeah, no, and I'm not surprised, because it's something that you're sort of like, well, that's why I hired the agency, right? Because they're going to set it up all for me. But
yeah, I can understand. Yep.
Yeah.
And I can understand that. But an agency should not own those accounts. They should be they tend to have to be an admin on the account to get full access to basically look at the data properly. But make sure that you own it, because if you don't, then yeah, I've seen some horror stories. So.
And that's what we do when we help our clients set up Google Analytics is, make the account and then invite us in, right? And so that's, if the person that you're working with doesn't have you do it that way, that should be a red flag.
I was going to say, if an agency demand that they own the accounts, then I would walk away personally.
Yeah, exactly.
I would second that, and I'm not selling anything. Yeah, you need to have that data. So it's super, super important. Like, invaluable.
Well, and another quick data tip, GA4 will become the only Google Analytics option for you next year. So if you have not cut over from Universal Analytics to Google Analytics 4, now is the time to start doing that, so that when that cutover happens, you don't have no data, you at least have something.
Yeah, quickly on that, actually, we're still not too sure if when Analytics switches off, it'll actually just disappear from your account, or at least you'll still be able to get the data. That's still fairly unknown at this moment in time. So if you can set up GA4 now and have both running side by side, so at least you're capturing some data on GA4 while you're trying to learn that new platform. But one thing I will highlight is by default, when you set up GA4 under the data streams, it will only, or data retention, sorry, it would only actually capture data and keep it for 2 months. So you have to go into that and change it, and the maximum is 14 months, again, because of the whole data issues. But even with GA4, you're only going to be able to keep data for 14 months and it will disappear. So
yeah. So many little things to keep track of, but it's all really important to being able to grow your business. You need the data to make the best marketing decisions, and companies like YouLi and TMA are here to help you make that technology more accessible. So that's what we're here to simplify, hopefully, for you. And so please do check out the new feature. If you already are on YouLi, kind of play around with that. Feel free to open a ticket if you have any questions on how that works. The GA4 tracking code is actually right underneath the booking confirmation redirect. So go ahead and be setting that up at the same time. And if you don't already have an agency to work with, reach out to TMA, although I think they're quite busy for the rest of this year. And I think on the Tourpreneur side, you've got an offer that's running for another couple of weeks. Is that right?
Yes. So the founding members that we have for the Tourpreneur Plus, which is where you get access to a lot more content, as well as consultations with myself and Pete and Mitch and a whole host of other things. Even sort of huddles and retreats that we're going to be doing next year for a small selection of operators to actually deep dive into their business. those sort of founding members, sort of memberships are going to stop in the next few weeks, probably at the start of December. So if you're not already a member of Tourpreneur Plus, then please join.
Yeah, become a founding member of Tourpreneur Plus. Thank you so much, Chris. Really appreciate your insight. Thank you everyone for joining, and look forward to seeing your Facebook ads converting better. See you next time.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.